Mr. Halsey, we're going to go ahead and get started with the P&Z meeting. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Haslet's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. The time is 7:14 p.m. And we do have a quorum present. And we're going to begin with a few items of community interest. First, the city offices are going to be closed on Monday, February 17th, and that's in observance of President's Day. And then coming up in May, on May 3rd, we have an general election taking place. And the city is currently accepting applications for, let's see, we got the mayor's office, place 2 at city council, place 4 on city council, and I believe it's just those 3 things. So the general election will be held again on May 3rd. So if you have an interest in serving on the city council or running for the position of mayor, make sure you visit the City of Haslet and fill out an application to be placed on the ballot. Moving on, agenda item 4 is our consent agenda, and we had our regular meeting minutes from December 17th that need to be reviewed and approved. Is there a motion to accept as written?
I make a motion we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda 5, we got our public hearings and action items. Item 5A is discuss, consider, and act regarding the approval of the site and landscape plans for lots 4A, 4B, and 9R of the Letara Village. And we're going to begin with our staff presentation.
Chairman and members of the board, this is a 1.676 acre tract west of FM 156 and south of Avondale Haslet Road. Recently you saw another site plan just to the east of this that fronted on the road for the women's clinic. And this is actually 3 lots behind it. And there are 2 buildings that are being shown, and there's a third one where the parking is being shown, but not the building. When they get ready to do that third building, they'll have to come back with another revised site plan. But this actually provides circulation throughout the entire site, so they included that. And so they've got it parked, for the facilities that they will need. Right now, the plan is for 1 medical building and 1 general office building on the site. The staff has reviewed this, and it conforms to our standards.
Filling out that whole area now?
They're working on it. There are several more lots that you will see on the final plat. The final plat that you'll see, the next agenda item, covers all these tracts, plus some more land, which they're platting, which they'll have to come back with site plans on it also.
Okay. So is the applicant present this evening? Are you the applicant? Is there anything you would like to add to this, what the staff presented?
No,
okay, thank you. And moving on, we'll move to our public hearing. And do we have anybody that's joined on the tele meeting? Okay, and we do not have anybody in the room present, so at this time I'm going to open and then close the public hearing. So the public hearing is closed since nobody is online or in the room, and we'll move to discussion. Is there any questions for the city staff or the applicant?
I will note that within your packet there are landscape plans for each of the buildings, plus a photometric plan for the 2 buildings that are being planned at this point.
Okay. I did have a question regarding parking. And if you could go back up to that image right there. So can you scroll where we can see both buildings on the display, please? Thank you. So if these buildings were demised so that there was 2 separate businesses operated inside the building, would we require that there be separate handicap parking at each entrance?
It's based upon the parking lot itself. These are individual lots, and so within those lots, they would have to be near the front door, which they are showing near the front door. And so, you know, it would be okay whether there's a demising wall in there to separate into two different uses.
Okay.
One of
What if there were two front doors? What if there was a front door on the north side and a front door on the east side as shown, and they were both primary entrances for two separate businesses?
Then they'd have to adjust their parking.
Okay. So the parking that is represented in front or on the north side of that north entry, where I think there's 3 parking spots shown there, those would have to be adjusted appropriately, and they wouldn't be able to get the 3 spots in that.
That's correct. If they would remove one of the other spots, then they would have to make sure that, really, handicapped parking spaces are smaller than normal parking spaces, but you have a ramp that you have to contend with.
Well, and then you have the space, the gap space between the spots. Like I think
Yes.
on the east side, it represents 11 foot wide or something like that, plus the gap space.
Yeah. Well, they would have to adjust something there to take care of that if they did indeed make that a front door.
So would that come during the occupancy permit and building permit review?
Yeah, when they come in for, you know, right now the plan is for one building,
One
basically,
tenant.
yeah, one occupant, but you know there could be a demising wall in the middle with a common lobby, so we don't know.
Yep.
So
Okay, but that will be addressed.
It would be addressed.
If they do have multiple businesses with multiple
Yes.
points of entry, they would have to readdress
they'd have
that.
to meet the code.
Okay, got it. Thank you. It was just something you noticed with where the parking, handicap parking was located on that. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody have any other questions they want to ask?
Nope.
No? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend to City Council the approval of the site plan and landscape plans for Lot 4A, 4B, and 9R of Letara Village.
Okay, there's a motion to recommend approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been second. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 5B, discuss, consider, and act regarding the approval of the final plat of lots 4A, 4B, 9R, 10, and 12 of Letara Village. And we're going to begin with our staff presentation.
Okay, I'm pulling it up here real quickly. Hold on. Yeah, this is a little bit differently. Most of the time when you see a site plan and a subsequent plat, they cover exactly the same area. In this particular case, they do not. This covers 2 more lots, the vacant land to the south that has not been developed yet and is not planning to be developed with the site plan that's been just approved. But this particular site, total plat, contains 4.548 acres. And I'd like for you to go to the plat if you could. You skipped it a little bit. There should be there you go. And it's upside down, but there's a note that is very important up there that's in a box. Can you zoom in more? Yeah, if you can. But basically, what the note says in detail is that whenever they come in with that, they're going to have to, do final engineering and site plans and everything else, just to let everybody know up front that this is not the final look that you'll get to see on this.
Where does it actually say that?
It's in
Bottom of the page, it's at the top.
In that little tiny rectangle?
yeah. What's that?
What box on this page is it?
That's not the right plat. That's go.
It's up in the corner over there, but it's a note on the plat.
Yeah, it's right there, that little box, right there in the middle on the left-hand side. There you go, if you can zoom in on that now.
That's what I was reading it upside down, but it didn't really say.
And this is just to let everybody know that this is not the final that we'll see on this.
Let's let him finish with his presentation, and then we can go to.
Okay. But that pretty much covers it. This is, taking up the remainder of the land that's involved with the Letara Village commercial. And there is some other information that they're working on right now, and some of it has to do with the traffic engineering and traffic TIA that was done on the site, and there's going to be some striping, et cetera, on 156 to help some of the traffic flow in, flow out. Right now there's a lot of traffic on 156, and the TIA said that basically they need to do some improvements, and that's going to be taken care of. That's it.
Thank you very much. Design of development on them, how does that come back to us?
In the form of a site plan. The plat, the lots are going to stay the same, no matter if anything else, unless they want to modify it. But they will have to come back before this body in the form of a site plan, and there may be some additional easements, access that they may need, and that's why our engineer actually had them put this note on here to let them know that Lot 12 is sort of out there on its own right now, and it's for conveyance purposes only, because they're going to be, they could potentially sell that lot,
Right.
but they'd have to still come back with a site plan
Yeah.
on them. And if they further want to subdivide it, they would have to come back with another plat.
Yeah.
But if the plat stays the same configuration, then you won't see the plat again, just the site plan.
And if we had any changes in our ordinances that would affect the way the site plan was, or this plat was submitted and approved, would they be subject to changes? Let's say it's 10 years from now and then they decide to do something with it. Would they, in our ordinances at that time, somehow would suggest that plat does not meet the the regulations 10 years in the future?
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to guess, what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I know, but if our ordinances for somehow are different and this the plat is no longer valid under future, whatever.
If they had to make significant changes to the plat, they would have to come back.
Okay.
Now, if it's just our ordinance change, then they would be, it would be the same.
Okay,
It wouldn't require another plat.
got it, okay.
It's just like in a lot of cases, there are plats that have been approved out in the county before a city takes them in. Well, the property's been platted, and so that's what you have. That's
Yeah.
what you have to work with.
Now, site plans expire though, don't they?
Yeah.
They have like 2 years?
2 years.
2 years, but plats don't.
Plats don't.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion?
The motion should include that little box.
Well, it's on the plat.
And, this is a motion to approve, you don't have to recommend.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the city council.
No, we approve this one. Yes. So you want to make you want to
Yeah,
start again?
I'll make a motion that we approve the final plat for lots 4A, 4B, 9R, 10, and 12 of Letara Village.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the final plat. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been second, all in favor? Motion passes, thank you. Moving on, agenda item 5C, discuss, consider, and act regarding the approval of the replat of Lot 15R1, Block 12 of the City of Haslet. We're going to again begin with our staff presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is a small tract that's right across the street from where we're sitting, 120 Main Street. And right back over here, yeah, on the corner. And when this was platted, there was actually a replat of that lot. There were some large setbacks that were put on it that are a lot larger than what the city now requires in the downtown area. Like on the interior, there was a 15-foot side yard setback that was placed on the plat, and our requirement now in the downtown area, because the lots are smaller, is 5 foot. But when you have a plat, you enforce the most restrictive item on the plat, which was 15 foot. Additionally, there were setbacks that were shown adjacent to the to First Street, and our ordinance gives some flexibility there for garages, being in some of the building setbacks from the back of the sidewalk, and some of them from the back of the curb. And it just depends on what's going on there. And so it really encumbered this site to have those extra setbacks on there. In fact, the 15-foot side yard setbacks on the east side of the tract, and the front setback of 30 foot, which is 25 foot shown on this one, actually encroached over the existing building. And so there were just some problems with it. The Economic Development Corporation B Board is trying to sell this piece of property and get it off their books. And this is one of the things that was an obstacle in doing that. And so this will clean that up for them and make it a more sellable lot.
Are there any questions for city staff? No? If there are none, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the replat of Lot 15R1, Block 12 in the City of Haslet.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion been second. All in favor? Motion passes. Moving on, agenda item 6A, thoroughfares and facility needs to accommodate growth in the City of Haslet. And we're going to begin with a presentation.
full screen mode, and then just left or right.
Very bottom,
Sorry, right above my finger there.
right there.
That's it. And then left to right or scroll up or down on the mouse.
Got it. Very good. Well, members, thank you. We're beginning to utilize the planning aspect of planning and zoning. Over the many years, I think that we have gotten away from that. And this is just, there's no decisions to be made in this. I just need to present a couple of items to you, and we'll ease into this role that you used to have. And so in this one, there are two items I want to bring to you for your consideration and overview, and we'll take the, we'll advance these as time goes on. But this, if you recall, back probably August of last year, August, September, I took it to the city council to about Blue Mountain Road, east and west. There was just a lot of voices about we need to widen Blue Mountain Road. Well, city engineering went to work. It took them some time, and they came back and said, okay, here's the plans. And it'll cost you $55 million. And I had presented it to the city council for the whole point of we had to have a couple of months advance timings to put it on the November election. And that's why it was presented to the council at that time. Here it is. It has to be a bond, and to be able to build something like this, and the voters need to vote on it. And though I did give it to them, I recommended that you do not approve this to go on the November election. The point being, a 20-year bond at $55 million would almost double your property tax. In fact, it would have increased it from, the present right now is 35 cents on the 100, and that would have added an additional 29 cents on the 100 for that one project. Since then, we have gone through and done formal traffic impact analysis on that roadway and with the traffic engineers, and they are coming back. But the preliminary word that I have, that impact analysis supports 3 lanes. 1 lane each direction, east and west, and the open center turn lane. And that will more than adequately take care of that roadway for now and in the future, including all the new development. But there's a recommendation here. And this intersection improvement. Many of you know, you travel Blue Mountain Road during either the work hours or the afternoon, evening hours. We have 1 lane each way, and there's a tremendous queuing of cars in each direction, depending on that time of day. This project would provide a dedicated right-hand turn lane, a through lane, and dedicated left-hand turn lane for both Blue Mountain Road east and west, which greatly reduces that queuing and gives them a more expedient routes to go north or south on 156 instead of 1 line of cars doing that. So that's the objective of this. and we'll have some formal engineering to report to you is what that time reduction would be, and also what the cost of this project would potentially be. We do have a developer that, if you're familiar with the LaPrelle development, it is just on the west side of our city limits, and it's a 300-acre development, I think.
Yeah, it's west of John Day Road.
Yeah, west of John Day Road, approximately 1,000 homes. Well, we required them to do a traffic impact analysis, and they will have a substantial responsibility on this intersection improvement. So it won't be 100% Haslet cost. Blue Mountain Road East or West and East, that is city streets, and we're responsible for it. Nonetheless, this is a project I wanted you to be aware of that's forthcoming, and we'll have more data on it as to how much it would improve both east and west, and what the cost will be.
Do you have any sense of how many cars can queue in each of those right turn straight, in the left turn lane? Yeah, it seems like a lot of times people build these, an intersection like this, and then the queuing is so small that it doesn't really end up having a real positive effect on the 78 cars that are behind it.
Right. Well, one of the so your question is, do we know how many cars?
Yeah. So, do you have any sense of how many cars we're going to design this to queue up in those 3 lanes before it chokes back down to one lane? In discussion with them right now, I'll say preliminary analysis it's approximately a third. Third are turning south, third going straight through, and a third are turning to go to the north. But is that 5 cars each of those lanes? Is it 20 cars each of those lanes?
They will have that information for us.
Yeah, that's the part that I think that a lot of times they miss is the
right.
capacity in each of those 3 lanes.
And on the front end of this, my direction to them is that the depth of these lanes has to be sufficient. If it needs to be 400 feet deep to take the queuing of these cars, then so be it. Good news is all of this can be done within our existing right-of-way that the city owns right now for a roadway on east and west. But you're exactly right. The queuing, the depth of these lanes have to be sufficient to actually make a difference so they're not backed up down to watercress.
Right. Yeah. You at least want it enough to cycle, to clear that within the cycle of the light. Yeah. Yeah. That would be, the best case scenario.
Well, I don't know if it'll clear it in one cycle, but right now you might go through 6. So this, the traffic light would also be optimized for something like this as well. Pardon?
The traffic light should be fixed now.
Well, the traffic light is fixed. It's got new radar systems on it. Now, what does it do? It does
works
give
great.
priority to FM 156. That's a text dot light. And that's all I can say about it right now. Of course, I'll say that's the limit of my knowledge about that situation. It was camera systems until many months ago. Then they came out and outfitted it with radar.
And it has worked substantially better. I haven't seen the faults in that thing since those changes were made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have one?
Well, the old system wouldn't see vehicles and it would bypass certain queues of traffic.
Yeah, so you're right, all our lights now have radar in lieu of the old camera. So that's helped. And it does what I've learned. When they outfit it with new technology, well, the camera system was constantly, they were out there trying to adjust it, but there just wasn't much you could do about it. The radar systems, each of these light intersections require tuning, and they often don't get it right the first, second, or third time. It takes several times. Anyway, that's all I wanted to report on this. I just wanted to put this here. This is on your radar. This is what's coming.
Very exciting. Thanks for sharing that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How is the future, we hope, expansion of 156 going to affect this? Are you going to do it in conjunction, this construction in conjunction with that expansion, or are you just going to do it?
No, this will be done when they get through. Of course, the cost of this project is a big consideration, how we manage these costs. I mean, it'd be real easy to me to come up and say, oh, we need to increase your property tax by another 10 cents. Well, it's real easy to say it. It's real hard to do it. So we're trying to manage cost and incorporate it in a, I'll say, very palatable way. But it can always be turned down. But it's here for, one, I'm utilizing planning, the Planning and Zoning Commission, but the planning aspect, all things city should be run through you first. Because that is in your job description.
Yeah. And that's the way it kind of used to be.
And that's what we're going to do starting the last meeting. I think we had our first one. But here's number 2. But you take an all-encompassing view of the city as a whole. That is what's provided, when it's provided, and the cost factor involved. So, I'm sorry, Chuck, you had a...
No, my question is basically, are we going to wait for the state to do their thing? Or are we gonna...
No. This would be done as soon as possible, soon as feasible. The state thing, what they do, well, one, we've already put them on notice in a resolution, got petitions and everything else. No, we don't want 7-lane divided highway through here running at 55 miles an hour. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they'd still like to do. But the municipality has control over that. They cannot build anything until they get this municipality's approval to do such, which they don't run into often, municipalities saying yes or no, you can't do this. To give you an example right here at this intersection on 156 under their former design would be 9 lanes wide in each direction, north and south.
9?
At that intersection, it would be 9 lanes wide. It's hard to imagine that. But the primary use, TxDOT's primary intent is for only this section of FM 156 that goes through Haslet, Texas. And this is the only section of FM 156, nowhere else, north or south. But this section would be used as a backup to I-35.
So basically a second highway.
Yes. What they wanted to do was actually would be a bigger roadway than what I-35 is today. So that's where I'm like, no, time out, guys. And we sent, over 2 years ago, we sent them, here's what we want. We want a 5-lane, undivided boulevard design, curb and gutter. We live here. Thank you very much. And so anyway, it's an ongoing discussion, but please understand, all of you, and it's in the transportation code and the TxDOT manuals, but you have to read it. The municipality has the authority.
So I have a question. So in a municipality where a lot of the traffic's through traffic, it's not residential traffic.
Right.
And I'm not talking about 156, I'm sorry, because that's a state road, but let's look back to Blue Mound. We have a lot of through traffic and a lot on that road that has no destination in Haslet whatsoever. How do municipalities deal with development requirements and they don't have the residential tax base to support the development that they have to do on their roadways like that?
How do other municipalities deal with it?
Yeah. Because
Well,
that
if
case
it's a roadway that they are solely responsible for, and they have no development along that roadway, it just doesn't get built.
well, yeah,
I mean, that's what I observed in, smaller cities. It's just, it doesn't get built. Because there's no other entity out there that's going to go pay for a road that's in your jurisdiction.
My experience with all the cities I work with is the cities just suffer.
the traffic congestion, they just live it.
They just have to live with it.
Well, that's just kind of what we do right now, aren't we?
Yes, you're right.
So,
And
you know, like, when are they gonna put a light out in front of Ashmore Farms, one out in front of, the meadow, Northland,
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that, I'm just saying that we just live with it.
Well, one of the things, like, we've taken some proactive steps, and we just recently awarded the contract to put those markings and that signage on 156 in front of each of your subdivisions. That marks the actual roadway, which, do not block the entrances, and actually put it on the roadway to tell people, we're talking about this area. Do not block this when you're stopped. And we've already talked to the sheriff's department, our group out here. TxDOT requires that we enforce that. And so they've already been notified. When this gets done, you will be out there enforcing this and monitoring that. If there's someone out there blocking it, yeah, you might warn them the first time. Second time, you get a ticket. TxDOT fully expects that enforcement. So if you get caught in it, I'm sorry, it applies to everybody.
People, if you're trying to get out of there, people get it.
We understand.
Yeah. And
Also, we still have in front of TxDOT the traffic study that warrants dropping the speed limit down from just north of Old Town here, north of Hurley, actually probably at Hurley, all the way to Blue Mound Road, dropping it to 35 miles an hour. And then 45 miles an hour from Blue Mound Road to Bond Ranch Road. That's as far as we could go. Outside of that's not our jurisdiction. So that would, that should help. If we get that approval. They can always say no, but we have other courses to take if they were to do something like that. But anyway, so there are things in the works, along with the school zone in front of Heritage Christian Academy. Our next one here, this has to do with city facilities. For quite some time, the library has been telling me we need a much larger library. And when you look at it, you go inside, it is kind of small to what they do now. And so what you see right here, let me see if I can zoom it up some. Here, our existing library right now is 3,569 gross square feet. Over here is a proposed new library of 8,000 square feet, just over a little more than twice that size. Now, I will make this, we have it in the budget to hire a consultant that specialty is libraries, studying libraries. How big should your library be? But the emphasis has been placed, and this is in speaking with our library director, is we're providing a library that's sufficient for the City of Haslet, Texas residents, not all of North Texas. Because you taxpayers pay for that building. But anyway, that analysis will happen here soon. Once we get the consultant under contract, they'll study, okay, you need a library, you should have a library this big to serve your proposed population build out of 9,500 people. That's our target. If that were to happen, if you've been in City Hall and if you've had occasion to get to go in the back rooms there, we've been out of space a long time. And with that, this existing library could be repurposed for administrative office space. It could even be possible. Our existing facilities right now, at City Hall, we have 3,000 gross square feet. Over here is 3,500, 600 gross square feet. It might even be possible to put this room, maybe a little larger room, a dedicated chambers over in this library, plus the additional office spaces that we need. Now, which offices, what services go over there, that hasn't been determined. But that is a very possibility. And we are, with regard to expansion needs, we are close to the full administrative personnel that we'll need. Now, we got some vacancies, a couple of vacancies. We're still looking for a city secretary. Anybody want to go to school for that? That's a very difficult position to find. So we're not looking at doubling the administrative staff, but we need some more room. But also, this would give a chance in numbers. I was just doing some estimating. If we were to, because part of your consideration, you should always be going, how much? And what you do, I've been listening. This library, if it had 8,000 gross square feet, if we took it at $400 a square foot, that'd be $3.2 million. At $500 a square foot, it would be $4 million.
There's no grants for that, even if it's a library?
I haven't looked for any grants yet. I'm not saying yes or no. Well, we can certainly look for that, but that's, I'll say premature right now.
So those numbers, I mean, those, you threw out 300 and 400, 500
For commercial, this would be commercial construction. So that's about, are you thinking it's too cheap, Paul?
No, too expensive, but I don't know.
Well,
I have no idea. I mean, you don't have to buy the property. You just build it.
anyway, is that,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's, Paul, I understand that's an estimate.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying, are those, I mean, certainly.
But they're realistic.
Somebody out there that
Yeah,
says,
it's
like,
realistic.
$10
Our fire station was, I think, somewhere between $350 and $400 a square foot.
Okay.
The addition that's being built right now.
I got
But also, if the library, why did we choose over here? And this is preliminary.
Sure.
You know, this consultant say, well, here's the best place in the entire city to build this thing. But I tell you what, we built the first one in the very best place in the city that we could. That's why it's been such a success, because right there is the park, et cetera. Kids and families come and visit it. Nonetheless, if it were something like this, the parking expansion that we could provide there, which is much needed for the park as well, could be shared. And there's some positives, but we're not so much saying X marks the spot here. We're saying we need another library. But if we were to make some kind of move, coordinated move, we can get a big bang out of our buck building one new building. And in the remodel, if we were to repurpose the library, existing library, and that is at about $150 a square foot. You're only talking $540,000 and gaining almost 3,600 square feet. So I'm all about repurposing some of these facilities when we can. I do want to, here is the floor plan, this was years ago, of the library. So it's very much an open space right now. And that I think the 150 a square foot, that might be overkill in that estimate. But it's just an inexpensive route and taking advantage of repurposing a facility.
Has any thought been given to a multi-use municipal building? Like, you think of the city of South Lake, they have their library on the bottom floor with the tax offices, but everything else above that is city offices, and there's some state offices that are, and I'm not saying we would have state offices in the city of Haslet, but have city offices and other services located in the same building, so you can take advantage of some of the common things like restrooms and parking and other central spaces. You don't have to pay for those things twice with two municipal buildings. So has any thought been given to having a multi-use municipal building?
Such as a library and city hall?
Yes.
No. To be frank, no, I've not, and none of us have considered that. I don't know that those two uses, you know, when I hear, you know, at times, public safety, you know, I see these public safety buildings where they combine the fire department and the police department. Those were, I'll say there was a time period when cities gravitated to that, but they've all gotten away from that, most all of them. Those are not compatible missions.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting fire and police, but you look at the city of South Lake, they have a very successful, place in the town, what is it, town center? Yeah. In the shopping district is where their city hall is, and in their city hall, below city hall sits their library. So it's a very effective multi-use municipal building.
Well, let me get your ideas. Where would you do this at?
Maybe in the spot you put your X.
Huh?
Maybe in the spot you put your X maybe is a great place to do it. I don't know the exact location. I'm just throwing it out as another idea. Instead of having single-purpose buildings for the city throughout Old Town area.
Well, within Haslet, first thing strikes to my mind, we got to build a new area altogether for something like that.
Yeah, I'm saying, what if you built a multi-use municipal building? Maybe you sold one of these buildings for commercial purposes. Maybe you turn that into revenue, sell it off to somebody who's going to you develop it.
So it says sell the library.
Yeah.
There was, what we're discovering is that retail isn't, and we spoke about this last time, retail's not coming. And we'll speak more about it in executive session.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened.
Yeah,
And it
but there's a
hasn't
lot
happened
of
for some
uses
very
that-
specific reasons.
Yeah, but there's a lot of uses that could be out there besides retail. I don't know. It was just another approach to
So here's
developing
what
city buildings.
here's my expectation of you. You come up with an idea, tell me where. And what would you combine?
Okay, you got it.
So you give it thought and come back, and libraries, all the libraries I've seen in other cities, Morris, do you have any different observations? But they're all dedicated facilities.
Yeah.
There's one over in Melissa that's a joint facility like that, but it poses several problems. Libraries don't close down at 5 o'clock. And a lot of times they're open in the evenings, and it just depends on, now you have to have separate entrances, and it just creates a little bit different.
But it's an idea worth considering.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be all at one level.
Yeah, that's what South Lake is. Basically the library is the bottom floor, and everything else above that's the municipal offices.
Yeah. Well, I suggest you put your heads together, work on an idea, and bring it forward to me. But this is the purpose, that's the whole point of bringing this to you. So we can go through these ideas and these thoughts.
All right.
And
I know the EDC, I'm talking about a few years ago. And that property that's just south of the park, they're at the northwest quadrant of Haslet Parkway or Avondale Haslet and 156. It talked about a multi-use facility, not necessarily a library and all that, but a city hall facility there. But once again, Hillwood, if they're not interested in selling that property, then, that doesn't do anything.
I will tell you, I've had, and it's not,
But
maybe.
we did talk about that a long time ago.
I've had an individual come to me one time and go, when are we going to build a nice, grand city hall, municipal center? And I have always been of the mind, it's just because of where we are, I'll say financially, where we are. One of the things, we got a lot of build out. We're having a lot of homes built, very nice homes, thank goodness for that. Industrial, there's a sweet and sour to all that industrial. Yeah. Well, the ad valorem is pretty good. The services to it is very small, and there's very little maintenance associated with it. But all the traffic that it brings is the downside. But we're not getting the windfall of this development. The windfall being retail. All these people need to go somewhere to buy something. Well, guess what? It hasn't happened. That piece hasn't happened in Haslet, Texas. Why? It already exists. At Alliance Town Center, Presidio, they're building a third one here, North City. And no developer's going to come in here and spend that kind of money when they got that kind of competition. It's not going to happen. And coming to realization of that, we have to make our own plans. So, that those, going back, say, 20 years, yeah, we're all very optimistic, and, well, this will certainly happen. Well, I'll even go back to when they were planning Haslet Parkway, and they had all the rainbow dreams of all this retail coming. It's not happened, and it's not happening.
Never say never.
I'm not throwing water on a cozy fire here, but it's facing the actual reality. But that windfall is what lets you afford all this nice city hall and this and this. So I'm taking a very conservative approach,
Very sensible.
recognizing the need. We need floor space. We've run out of places to store anything, office supplies. It's, come over and I'll take you a tour through there. But how can we, on a very effective use of our dollars, gain that area? Build one building new.
Yeah, you're right on all that. We understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Totally. We're just saying that it kind of addressing rates. I mean, the EDC, look at that, and,
Yeah.
But again, it's all a lot of money.
I remember we discussed moving City Hall over to Ephrata over the, and the new Haslet Parkway. We were gonna make that our
Yeah.
center of town.
Yeah.
Where?
And,
Ephrata's property and the Haslet Parkway. That was quite a while ago.
somewhere over there. Anyhow, that ain't, yeah, that's not,
Yeah.
That never happened.
in the,
You,
what do I-
every property would cost a fortune. You couldn't even conceive of buying it nowadays. And Hillwood owns that, and Hillwood knows that. But nonetheless, I am open to any ideas.
Has there been any thought on how the library can generate revenue?
No, libraries are non-revenue generators. It's just like police.
What about use fees for non-residents?
Now, what we did do recently, and it's going to the city council, the library board did pass it, is that imposing a $25 per card annually on non-residents. And we have approximately 7,500 active cards. And it's almost 80% of that is non-residents. They're most all Fort Worth residents, okay? Well, it costs us the same money to run that library. Okay, well, we're not funding. Fort Worth is building a new library out on Avondale Haslet Road near the Goddard School, not far from here. But they'll still gravitate to here because this is so unique over here, this setting. And the service, the library itself has such a reputation in North Texas. They do. It's hard to recognize when you live here, but they have an excellent reputation in the programs. As modest facilities as that we have, the content is outstanding. So the board, library board, considered it and approved imposing a $25 a year card fee for all non-residents. And that has the potential, if all of those same folks signed up for their card, it would generate $150,000 a year just from that.
Yeah. Or they might, none of them might buy it, and we might have a library that's the right size
But we
based
don't
on.
lose any revenue because we
Right.
don't make any revenue because of it.
Yeah, I get the other side of that, though. If they don't get the card, maybe they don't use our library, and our current library is the right size for our residents,
Right, absolutely.
which you'll find out.
That's a year or two.
But the focus is shifting. We've been out here and it was like we do anything to attract people. Well, now we got more and okay, what do we do with them?
Yeah.
And so it's the focus on the Haslet resident, the taxpayer, and providing service for them, a quality service. Anything else? Really, those were the two items I had to bring to you here. We'll come and visit these again, and please, that was this, what's happening is what I hope for. Yes, we get a vision from over here, but there are other perspectives to see this thing and ideas. Please bring them, but I don't need another task to do. Right. I need the idea, here, do it here, combine these two offices or these services and things like that. That'd be very most appreciated. All right?
Yep. We
All right,
appreciate
then.
I think we all appreciate the opportunity to have our voices heard, so thank you for that.
Well, I don't know, I apologize, I didn't start doing it 3.5 years ago. But I review all these ordinances and the purpose of these, I say ordinances, these boards and the purpose of them and what their job duties are. And it just stood out like a neon sign. Oh my gosh. This planning, the planning aspect, everything about this city goes through them. I'll be here and I'm going to pick it now. I did make mention to a couple of you is I need 2 meetings a month. Right now you have 1 meeting a month. That's a slow moving train. So 1 meeting is dedicated to planning and zoning, approving of plats and ordinances and things like that. But we're there at that point. I need a meeting dedicated to this type of stuff so we can go into more depth. Okay? So, and just, if.
That's really the workshop stuff I keep asking about. Is there any workshop topics, anything for us to work on? I think that fits right into the.
Yeah. And then the intent would be is you feed a recommendation to the city council on this stuff. This is how I first got involved, probably about 1997, was on the planning commission. That's what they had, a different planning, different zoning. And I served on that. And I'm going, yeah, I'll volunteer. What's this all about? Well, no one was able to say anything of what it was. And the only reason it was split up like that was done on purpose to slow up development. They told me that explicitly. And I go, okay. Well, then, I did city council term and ran for mayor, and that was the first thing I did. I said, planning and zoning go hand in hand. And that was the first thing. One of the first things we did was combine the two boards. But listen, thank you very much. And but I need feedback. I really do, as soon as possible, institute the 2 meeting a month. Does that pose a problem for you? I know, Greg, you travel a lot, and that's a difficult thing. I appreciate that because I've been confronted with all that stuff too. Other folks, is that a problem?
Just depends when you do it and
Yeah, it can be.
how it's planned.
Well, here you have this one at the end of the month. It seems to align with timing of things and maybe 2 weeks prior. So say a meeting in the middle of the month, it's almost like every other week. Give me a call, give us an email or something. Let us know as soon as you can. Yes, no, then we'll figure something out. We'll work together on this thing. But you're at that point. The city is at that point. We have to make these plans now and then work the plan. I know in the past some plans have been made, but they were never worked. And we got a lot of things, our road is going to be opening up. We're going to have ribbon cutting first week of April. The Keller Haslet extension to FM 156, it gets all that traffic out of here. Just spoke with NISD. We're going to pull the trigger on that deal. Got to go to city council for it, but that's coming. That's a very imminent happening of that elementary school going in at Harmon Road and Blue Mountain Road. We have, of course, we got Toyota. They're coming. We have, our farmers market and teaching gardens. It is in the bill. Of course, I told you guys, yeah, I passed appropriations, but I found the bill 3 days ago. And there it is. City of Haslet, farmers market, $2.3 million. Now, what's it waiting on? It is waiting for the congressional vote. Of course, I'm hearing today that, okay, all this, stop all your spending, hold the horses. But I will be checking, I checked with our attorney, who are lobbyists, that said most likely they would have the vote in March. I don't know if today's news even change, it may change that. So I'll have a follow-up on that. But that's a very, either we get it or we don't. I'm very hopeful that we will, but because it aligns with everything, the write-ups and everything we did and the justification lines up with the values that the presidency has now. Anything else to report on about planning, things, what's happening right now?
Yeah, I want to talk about a few little things if I could under number 7A.
What is 7A?
Status.
Okay, well, I'm fixing to turn the workshop over. I'm done with the workshop items. Thank you very much.
Chairman, we just want to keep you informed of what's going on out there, and several projects were alluded to, and one of them is the Freeman Toyota, and they're working real hard on some engineering plans, and they've already submitted some, and we've actually given them comments back, and because they want to start moving dirt. There's a lot of dirt to be moved out there because there's a significant hill they have to contend with. You think this area is flat until you start engineering it, and then you say, wow, it's not quite as flat. Of course, Letara Medical, it is gone vertical, and so that's they're moving right along with that. That's right in front of these other two buildings that we looked at tonight. One other thing too, it's not really a commercial project, but it's the fire station, which is right here on 156, and so that'll be a big deal when that's all completed. And then QT is still in the queue working on stuff, and they're trying to get their final plans together. In fact, I had a call today wanting to know when they can get their plat filed, and my answer was, as soon as you get all your improvements in the ground, we will. Okay. They are, the retail sales of the cars are not necessarily good, but when they have 100+ service bays and parts sales, that's where the money is as far as cities are concerned. And if it wasn't for that, that's probably not really what we'd want, but since they're planning on over 100 service bays, that makes it a good profit center for the city. They sometimes multiply. Mm-hmm. But once they break ground and news gets out there and they see it, I think there could be a snowball effect on that. And so we're excited about it. And the only other thing I want to mention is they're still out there north of Caraway. There's 3 industrial buildings that north of Pass Drive that are still in the permit stage. It's sort of gone dormant, but it's still out there.
Actually, it's going to be very active here in the very near future. We're having a meeting with them on Friday morning, and it has to do with that project. There is a need to, if you go up from Blue Mountain Road, go up Intermodal North, there is a gap between Intermodal and Haslet Parkway. That has to be completed. For that, it's called Stream Realty, is the property owner, and they're the developer for those 3 warehouses, because their design, their site plan utilizes the roadway as their fire lanes. For some reason, they got it passed not to have interior fire lanes around their facilities. But they understand that's got to be completed and the additional light put in, so that intersection would be opened up. Nonetheless, that's going to be happening here in the immediate future.
Other than the things I mentioned, there's about 4 other projects that are, where they're poking around and meeting with us to perhaps bring something more, concrete forward. And of course, you'll see, you're one of the first ones that will see it when it comes.
So any of those possibilities that are in front of us, are there any ordinances, sign ordinances, anything else that we should be looking at to make sure they're updated, relevant for the types of projects that might be coming before us?
I believe we're in pretty good shape for the projects that are, some of them that we're looking at, they're very tough locations, and so we just need to work through a lot of issues. And sometimes when they find out exactly what's going on, they decide they've kicked that tire a little bit too hard, and they move on.
I know one time our sign ordinance had 35 corridor overlay for signage because we knew that those properties were challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And we allowed signage to be a lot higher. I don't know if those things have been stripped out since we got rid of the overlay.
Well, the overlay has been put back in place on the 35 overlay, where you can have signs up to 35 foot tall in a certain area along I-35W, but that's the only place in the city that you can have them like that. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, the QT's in that area, that zone. So. Right. But
So
that's.
Anybody biking on your plan along the old schoolhouse road there, that you kind of laid out?
No, not at this point.
Well, I'll say that the property owner, who owns the bulk of that property, we've been talking for several years, and currently it's zoned for residential. His desire has been, well, I'd sure like to do condominiums or something like that. And I said, well, you just need to keep on wishing. Yeah. Huh? But is that when we got the farmers market, especially, came up with that idea and the teaching gardens and all the possibilities that can happen in that one area, the foot traffic that it'll bring, and the various activities, and even the well, I told him this is going to help this commercial site between Schoolhouse Road and 156. And now he's, in the last several meetings that we've had, because we're have the TRA projects, we've been meeting quite often to get easement from him and his business associate to put the line in which we've come to agreement on that, and the papers are all drawn up, checks are cut. That's a done deal. And I kept telling him, hey, you need to consider changing that zoning from our, residential to commercial. And he voluntarily, maybe going back 4 months ago, I want to talk to you about changing our zoning to commercial, because he's beginning beginning to see the opportunity. So this stuff takes so much time. Some aspects, some ventures can happen in a matter of months. Some might take years.
There's actually one project in that area, and you've already looked at and approved the site plan for. It was south of the very tip of the property between 156 and Schoolhouse Road for an office building medical. Well, this past week, they called me up and wanting to get some information on it because they're working on it. So you just never know. You know, we looked at that, must have been 6 months to 8 months ago, but now it appears like it may come to fruition.
Thank you for those updates, appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, let's see, moving on, we didn't have an executive session, so nothing for 8 or 9. Future agenda items, I think we've already kind of talked through some of that. What we just discussed, anything else you want to add to that?
Not at this time.